Hello and welcome to ArtShow. I'm Craig Stover, and today I have with me Jessica Warner. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Very good. I can't wait to talk today. Let's see if I can share some images. So, I wanted to start out, and sometimes I do this with images that are, you have it right behind you. And so, this is a main image on your website, and I can see why. I really like this painting, and the more I look at it, the deeper it gets.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
can you tell me just a bit about what exactly is this central image that I'm looking at?
I always start with like still life objects
Okay.
or small things. This was just a piece of fabric, and then there's a bit of a shirt. So you can kind of see the shirt sleeves in
All
there.
right.
Um, yeah, so
That's
it's just sort of like constructed into a form.
okay. When you're doing this, are you being true to what's in front of you, or are you taking a lot of liberties? Are you moving the form as you're painting it? How does that work?
Sometimes I shift things a little bit while I'm painting it. But mostly I'm kind of just using it as something to bounce off of and kind of suggest relationships.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a starting point, and then I kind of drift away and then come back when I need information.
Interesting. So I have to ask, so I can understand that there's a tabletop and an object on it, and then behind it, there's pictures. So I see the reference to the Philip Guston in the upper
Yes.
corner. Are you using that as a reference to enhance the picture because you're trying to say something specific about it? Or is it just because he's a person that is in your studio? Why?
Well, it kind of came about for a couple of reasons. I was thinking a lot about Philip Guston. He's somebody I think about really often. But when I made this painting, it was sort of right after I had seen the big retrospective
Okay.
show, and so he was in my mind a lot. But also, I had an image on my wall, kind of right nearby all of these things, so it sort of started to seep in,
Uh-huh.
and then I decided just to add more information so that you could recognize
You can a little bit, but you've
reference.
also hidden it a little bit too. Is that a modus operandi for you? Do you like to hide references within the work?
Well, I think that part of like that's a lot of what I'm doing in general is like having something that I'm working from, but it's in various stages of recognizability. So yeah, that started out as something that wasn't all that clear, and then
Hmm.
it became more clear. And especially after I put in on the other side, there's a cactus that I have in my studio, and
Okay.
it sits on my windowsill, and the the kind of upward movement of that sort of related to the Guston. So.
Okay. I
Um,
couldn't tell if that's great. It's cactus. I first thought of it as I thought they were paintbrushes.
It's actually both. So there's some paintbrushes in
Okay.
one of the
Is
cactus.
that
The
a
cactus was like the
John's?
paintbrushes, and the upward movement was like the gustin, and so it kind of
Okay.
all
Is
made.
Were the paintbrushes also a reference to Guston, or because I immediately thought of Jasper Johns' Savarin with the brushes? Was it
Yeah, I mean maybe a little bit of all of that.
okay?
They were
Interesting.
actually there, you know, as an object in my studio also.
So, next painting. So this is a little bit earlier, correct? Or is this
This one is
recent?
actually a weird one because it kind of was a little bit earlier and also was kind of just finished fairly recently, like a year ago. So kind of at the same time as that other one.
Do you revisit older works, or was it always in flux?
It was always in flux. I don't usually do that. Most of the time when I'm working, I work on something and then I don't leave it for long periods of time and then come back.
Is so your work is usually based somewhat on something that you're seeing, or but so this. to me, you get that sort of Monet water lily pad kind of a thing. I mean, that's just the average, but I know that I have a feeling I'm totally off on that. Where's the start of this picture?
Well, yeah, I definitely feel like I feel water in it too, and that's something I was kind of thinking about. So yeah, and sometimes I hesitate to let people know exactly what the objects are. Some people want to know and some people don't. But I'll tell you, these were also some shirts that I was working with for a long time, and
Okay,
a bunch of string and a brick is in there,
okay.
and there's some
So,
beads and buttons and things like that.
so the materials that you're working with, because you didn't say fabric, you said shirts, right? So I'm kind of curious, is it important that you're working from these sort of objects that are in your studio or not? Do they have a personal relationship with you, or is it just any old shirt?
Kind of a little bit of both. Sometimes
Okay.
I have various reasons that I like start working with things, but the shirts sometimes I'll come back to things again and again, and so they'll show up in different ways in different work, and
Okay.
so then they kind of grow a meaning in a way.
Okay. But it's not important for the viewer to know that that it's a shirt or a brick. Or
No.
okay.
Not, I mean, sometimes, but not. I think especially not in this case. I mean, I do kind of feel like so they're shirt sleeves, so they do kind of feel like arms and feel like a reaching in some way, um,
Okay.
or they could.
Yeah.
They feel like that to me anyway.
So you're essentially just keeping the viewer guessing at every moment.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, maybe not every moment, but
okay. Sorry about that. This is very touchy. Um, so I saw this particular one, and I really got interested in the painterly quality of this particular piece. And then I love the color changes that you have going on. I had a specific question for this. I'm kind of curious. Not all artists do this. When you create rules for the paintings that you're going to do, whether you realize you're doing it or not. Oh, I'm going to stay within this colors. I'm going to make these kind of forms. As you're making the paintings, do you always stick to those rules, or do you ever find yourself changing midstream?
I change a lot. Yeah. So I start in one place and I feel like the painting kind of takes a journey to somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. So I almost never feel like I have an idea and I'm gonna paint it. It kind of starts in one place and then I always like that's part of the process that I really enjoy about it is kind of like seeing where it ends up.
Okay.
Just always a surprise.
So you like that freedom of being able, not being hemmed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just change. That's great. How big is this particular piece?
This one's not too big. It's a little
A little
smaller than the one behind me.
behind you. Okay. All right.
Maybe like, yeah, I don't know if you could see.
Because I think scale is important for your work. I mean, I can
Yeah.
I can kind of tell based on the drips and the paint strokes, but that's also what I like about them. I want them. I want to be in the room with them just because of the size. Are these like by the time you're finished, are they very sort of thick and meaty, or do you really kind of keep it on the thin?
They usually end up pretty thick. I mean, I like that oil paint can have that range from like really thin and like glaze like, but then get really thick. And I like the evidence of brushstroke and movement.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they usually end up with lots of really thick areas and yeah, sometimes they take a really long time to dry.
Right. So I found this guy too on your site. And there was a whole series of these. These were pandemic drawings.
These were actually, I call these kind of maybe drawings. And
All right, please
they were kind of a
explain.
series after. Yeah.
So what do you mean maybe drawings?
Um, well, because I'm kind of using this one, maybe not as much as some of the other ones, but kind of building things up with graphite and then um, like clearing it out and drawing back into it with an eraser. So they sort of form and unform and form and unform
Okay.
like in the process. And so they're kind of unsettled. And so I kind of, yeah, I thought maybe it was a
Are you using your subconscious to find the form?
most of them are kind of come from rocks.
Okay.
So they started while I was at a residency, and the rocks there were kind of different from the rocks here. So I was kind of collecting them and just playing with them, and
Maybe they weren't rocks.
yeah,
Aha.
and yeah, and I like the fact that rocks feel like something so permanent, but
Yeah.
then they also like if you shift as in looking at them, like everything changes about them, and they're in a way in a really slow process of forming and unforming. Um,
Is something like this, would you ever then take this and then make a painting from it, or is this the end result and that's that?
yeah, usually that's the end result, but I kind of work back and forth between drawing and painting, so they definitely inform each other in less absolute ways.
Okay. So this painting does go a little back, right?
Yes, this is a long time back.
A long time ago, but it's a good painting, right?
Thank you.
So I can't help but see when I first saw this, the brushstrokes look remind me of Joan Mitchell right away. But you've got other stuff going on here. Is there a story behind this?
Not exactly like a narrative story.
Can you tell me what I'm looking at? Because I'm having a tough time doing the decipher.
So you want to know the actual objects I was looking at?
Sure.
Okay. So this one's a really big one, but then this was a time where I was working with really small objects, and I love that you said Joan Mitchell because she's definitely another one of my favorites and someone I look
Especially
to
in
a
the
lot,
upper right
especially
corner there. Yeah.
yeah, especially at this time, which was not that long after I graduated from undergraduate. And so these were really tiny little like mending plates
Hmm.
and like bolts and that's what the kind of architectural looking elements are, and
Okay.
the little the little darker objects are these little water chestnuts that
So
actually I've
this
been
is all just a giant
and
still life then.
yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I like to just like set these things up and they start to suggest things to me. So it's almost like I'm creating a situation with what's happening with the objects, and then that's like a situation to bounce up off of for a painting. So yeah, these seem like to me kind of like an architectural situation um, with like dramatic shadows and these little kind of creatures maybe coming upon this site of ruins. That's what this one's called. It's called Ruins.
Hmm. It's a good title. And it's good. It's a good painting. One last question on this one. Do you still own this one?
Yes.
Just kind of curious. Um, so I want to start sort of at the beginning. If we can go way back, when did you first start? When did you first know that you were going to become an artist?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess kind of I've always been an artist in some ways.
Okay.
And I guess, yeah, I mean, I was always drawing, but I guess, I got more serious sort of in
Was
high
there a
school.
date when you realized I'm going to become an artist for my life? Like, was that like a high school, college, after it?
I guess technically high school, but I do remember having a conversation with a friend who told me that, when I was like maybe elementary school, who told me she wanted to be a lawyer, and I was like, oh, I want to be an artist. So
Stuck
I
with you.
maybe in some ways always. She
Was
thought that was
there
a really bad idea.
yeah, was there anybody in your life that was key to moving you in that direction? Was there somebody who was really kind of taught you the processes that you use and will be forever connected with you?
Wow, I have so many people who I feel so grateful to. I mean, first of all, I would say my mom was an art teacher, an elementary arts teacher. So,
Ah,
um,
okay.
that was very important. And yeah, I had a lot of really great teachers. So
Okay. I
they
like the
all
mother that works. Uh, uh, this is a question I should have asked earlier, but when you're going to make some work, do you keep a sketchbook?
um I draw all the time, so
Okay.
that's a big part of my process is just think through or just kind of look at things and make drawings.
Would
I don't
you?
do them usually in a sketchbook
Okay.
because I like to draw on a hard surface mostly.
Right.
So they're not like bound up in a book, but they're kind of scattered all over the place.
So, and I think you said you don't really use those sketches or whatnot to make bigger works. You just is there any planning involved in the paintings, I guess?
Not really usually. Like I won't sometimes I'll play with a situation in drawing and think about it from various, angles or move things around for a little while. And sometimes when I'm in the middle of a painting, I'll kind of come back and make some drawings if I feel stuck.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'll get some information from those drawings, but they're not always like it's not like I make a drawing and think I'm going to take this drawing and put it onto the canvas.
That's not how you
I feel
work.
like I feel different about them both. I feel like I think different in drawing and I think different in painting, but
Okay.
they sort of come together sometimes.
So you're in your studio, you're going to make something new, and you're not sure what you want to do. Where do you get your ideas from? Is it just a process that you've developed, maybe that creates the ideas, or what sparks that creativity?
Yeah, I think they come from each other. So I guess if I'm feeling like I don't know what to do next, sometimes I'll just make a bunch of drawings. And sometimes it's like, a lot of what I'm looking at are like random objects that sort of are interesting for various reasons. And sometimes if things are just like formally interesting, I'll start drawing it and then they'll start to like um my interest will grow and maybe I'll think about how that could be in a painting or maybe not. Maybe I'll abandon it and come back to it later. So,
So you said they come from each other. Does that mean a finished work will inform the next painting?
um, sometimes, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I'll like as I'm working on one painting, maybe I'll think about, oh, what if I was looking at this from a different angle? Or what if I combined these other things? Or this painting's really a dark painting, maybe the next one I should make should be something that feels lighter, or, things like that that just sort of come from working.
So I just want to make sure I'm getting this correct. One of the questions I often ask artists is the work planned out or is it mostly play? But it sounds to me like you plan like the still lifes or the object you're going to get, but then play after that.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm playing when I set up the still life too.
Okay.
I think it almost feels like painting to me in some ways.
When you set up the still lives, are you also concerned with light?
Yeah, yes.
So you make paintings. I assume sometimes you said the one can take sometimes years to complete. Um, do you ever find yourself like reworking paintings? Did you ever get to the point where you've had a painting and then after a year you're just like, nah, scrub it out, start over?
Um, Occasionally, kind of the one that you showed, the second one, was one where that happened, where I had to put it aside, just because it was a pretty large one, and I don't even remember why I put it aside. Well, I put it aside, and then a little bit later, I came back to it. Either I got stuck or life circumstances. But that usually it's hard for me to get back into the mindset of that painting.
Hmm.
Like um, it has to happen within a time frame. Otherwise, it feels like I've moved on from there and I can't get back into the place of that painting.
Well, I guess what I'm really trying to get at is, do you have a scrap pile?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that
Okay.
don't end up working out. Yes.
So you've been painting for years now, right? Um, do you feel like your work has changed over time? And if so, how? How has your work changed?
Um, Yeah, that's a hard question. I feel like especially because right now I feel like I'm returning to a lot of things I used to think about.
Hmm.
So um
That's in a full circle,
yeah, I feel like things spiral a little bit.
right?
Yeah, I feel like I think things have gotten a little simplified. Like that the last painting you showed had a lot of small brush strokes and a lot of
Hmm.
complexity and was kind of built out of that. And I think I'm using more larger areas of quiet, empty space
Hmm.
or stillness, maybe
Yeah,
a
I
little bit
hear
more.
that a lot from artists as they age. You know, the simpler can be better. Why paint in 50 strokes when you can do it in two? So you're,
Yeah, and maybe it has something to do with confidence too.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So so speaking of confidence of the artist and whatnot, I want to ask you about your audience. When you're making a work of art, is your audience in your mind at all, or are you just painting for you and they just come in after?
Um, yeah, that's maybe another hard one. I think a little bit of both. Like I feel like painting can kind of be like a communication with yourself, but also just putting it out in the world and showing it kind of gives you the opportunity to kind of speak with other people. So yeah, I often do think about, you know, how much somebody might recognize certain object or a reference or and I like that I could kind of I don't know how I can say this the way if I'm going to say this exactly the way I mean it. Like submerge certain things in a painting. Like the painting will mean something, a certain thing to me, and then somebody else will look at it and it'll mean something a little bit adjacent to that, but not quite that. And yeah, so I love to hear about things like that. And yeah.
Well, speaking of your audience, so you are doing things, like where you're not necessarily hiding, but you're morphing objects to the point where it's hard for people to discern that. But you're also doing it with your palette as well, your color choices, because you seem to be, you're shifting your colors from what's there. Can you? And this is another big question. Let's talk color. Can you tell me a little bit about what you think about color?
Well, what do I think about color? Well, I think that color is obviously very important in my work. I think it's a big driver of feeling, I guess, in the work. And it shifts a lot as I'm working. Sometimes it ends up where I have like a lot more colors and then it kind of gets to be distilled to like very more specific color relationships. Um, yeah, and a lot of what I'm doing is reacting to what I'm seeing. But also like supercharging it or translating it into like a higher key.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Have you noticed a shift in your color palette as you continue? Because
yeah,
to
I think
me,
it's expanded a lot.
I honestly feel like the newer works, you're playing a lot with the value of color, where I think beforehand it was a lot more out of the tube kind of stuff. But maybe I'm just grasping at straws.
Um,
Hard to
yeah,
say.
I think um I mean I feel like my color language has definitely expanded like the more I work with color.
Right.
And in the past couple of years, I've kind of made a conscious effort um to not kind of use my go-to kind of
Hmm.
relationships and to
Uh-huh.
kind of find a new like way to express, I guess, is
Yeah. The color
a good way.
combinations that you use are very interesting in the newer works, like the painting that's behind you. The fact that you've got this yellow with that like a Pepto kind of color, but then you've got a blue over the, but it's not a regular blue; it's a faded out blue. It's it's quite interesting. It's not a choice that everybody would make.
Yeah.
Um, so we have time for just a couple more questions. There's one question I definitely want to ask you. So I've seen paintings, I've seen drawings. Are there other mediums that you've thought about that you might like to dip your toes in, or maybe stuff that you've done previously and you want to bring it back?
Well, actually, right now I'm exploring printmaking, which is not something I've
What
done
kind?
much. I'm trying to do everything. I've done a
Uh-uh.
little bit of etching, a little bit of I made some monotypes. I played a little bit with silkscreen.
Okay. I think
So
etching would, of course, I love etching, but I think etching would be interesting to see what you would come up with, especially some deep bite stuff or some sugar lips. That would be really quite interesting. Anything like weirdly like outside the box? How about sculpture?
um, not much sculpture.
Okay.
I don't
I'd
know.
like to see
Maybe
what you would come
someday.
up with that.
Could be
Like
fun.
when I first saw de Kooning sculpture, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that fits. But they look completely different. Um, how often are you in your studio?
Um, well, it shifts based on other things that are happening. Pretty often I try to do something in here every day, and right now I've been able to be in the studio a lot. So I've
Okay,
been here most
nice. And it makes you feel good.
yes.
Fantastic. Well, last question then. What does making art do for you?
Um, yeah, that's I think I can't imagine not making art. I feel like it's so much a part of like has always been a part of like what I am, what I do. Um, so I think it grounds me. It helps me feel connected to like myself and other people, and it's a way to think through things and um, explore how things are related. Yeah, it's.
It's a loaded question. A lot of artists answer it in a similar way, but everybody has like different sort of tweaks to it. So, Jessica, I can't thank you enough for coming by to talk with me today.
Thank you
Big
so
fan of
much.
your work. I can't wait to see it in person. I also want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch Art Show today. Your support is really, we love it. And we'd love it if you also like and subscribe. That actually helps push Art Show forward so more people can see the artists on it. Thank you again for watching. And again, Jessica, thank you very much. I really appreciate
Thanks so much, Craig. This was so fun. Thanks.
it. Take care, everyone.